G'day folks, Scott here. Welcome to another video. Today I'm reviewing, at long last, John Wick 2. Now, you would have seen in previous videos that I had a bit of a whinge in the fact that John Wick 2 came out worldwide in February, except for in Australia, where the distributor who owned it locally held it off until mid-May. Now, I would have reviewed and seen this movie last week, but I had a full-on cold and didn't see the point of going to see it unwell and then trying to shoot a review looking like something out of Street Trash or Body Melt. So I didn't, and I went and saw it last night. Long story short, I loved it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was everything I hoped it would be. So if you just wanted that and you enjoyed the first movie and you want to see more, then just go see it. If you want to hear more, then I'm not going to go into full spoilers or anything. You know, there's honestly not really a lot to spoil. But, you know, rest assured, if you like the other one, you'll like this one, go check it out while you can. You know, I can't imagine it's going to be in theaters for all that long in Australia at least. So, John Wick 2 is obviously the follow-up to the original John Wick, made by the same people, still starring Keanu Reeves. Now, Keanu for me is a bit of a interesting actor. Obviously, he first came to light for me back when they first did the Bill and Ted movies back in the day. And then he came back around with Speed and Point Break, both of which were okay movies. He was pretty good in it. There was definitely a big transition from him as a, you know, sort of young guy in this comedic kind of series, coming out as more of this buff kind of wannabe action guy. Now, he took a lot of shit back then for his acting. You know, he wasn't renowned for it. It wasn't fantastic, but he had good presence and charisma on screen, and he was, you know, pretty good at the action stuff. And, you know, those two movies did really, really well. Probably the first time I ever saw him where I could say he actually acted was in a Sam Raimi movie called The Gift. The main star in that was Cate Blanchett, and it was about a clairvoyant in a small shitty redneck town, and a, you know, murder happens and it's kind of a mystery. But what really blew me away in that movie was Keanu Reeves playing a really redneck, brutal, abusive, horrible person. And I was blown away by how good he was in that. It was the first time, like I said, I ever actually saw him act. And then after that, of course, came The Matrix and the rest of his career. Now, I've always had a lot of respect for the guy after watching the making-ofs in The Matrix. If you're a Matrix fan and you've never actually seen the behind-the-scenes stuff about the filming of those movies, especially the first one, Keanu's a piece of work. Like, that guy had suffered some kind of really debilitating back problem going into the production of The Matrix, and was in constant pain. And he would get up hours early before filming for stretching and training and exercise. They had to re-choreograph a lot of fight scenes in that movie to accommodate the fact that he couldn't kick above a certain height, and kicking, you know, obviously caused a lot of issue with his back. So that's why there was vastly more kicking in the other movies later on when he'd gotten well. But the fact that he's just a machine who just worked his ass off to get that role and to keep that role and to give the performance that he did across those films. I mean, obviously, The Matrix is a whole nother story with how people feel about that trilogy. I liked them less as time went on, but I love number one, and I really like number two. But Keanu was great in them. He was really, really good. You know, flash forward to, you know, a few years ago when the first John Wick came out. I hadn't seen Keanu in a lot up until then. He was in some shitty Eli Roth horror movie called Knock Knock that came out around the same time, maybe just after, that did nothing for me at all. But John Wick really took me by surprise. I'd have some friends go, look, you know, you got to check this movie out. It's like a throwback to just 80s vengeance action movies. And, you know, it's really, really well done and really well choreographed. At the time, I was like, man, having seen the Raid movies, no action movie is going to impress me. Like, just, you know, I went on about the Raid films in my review for the Iron Fist series. Like, for them, they set this benchmark for action for me that everything is judged by now. But John Wick really stood out on its own. It was really well shot. It was really well made. You know, it's not telling, you know, a particularly amazing story, and really neither is the second one. Both his movies boil down to John Wick is like this bad guy that bad guys were scared of. You know, they referred to him as the boogeyman. And he retired and moved on, and for some reason he got brought back into that world. And in both movies, if you fuck with John Wick, you and everybody you know is going to be killed by John Wick. That formula's in both films. Nothing's changed. You know, these aren't storytelling pieces. But what the new one and the original one, but specifically this new one, is they really upped the ante in production value, cinematography, lighting. The sets are amazing. It's really unique. There's cool shots in Rome. There's this really cool art gallery. There's a really cool fight scene in it that you see in the trailer, so I don't really feel that I'm spoiling anything, but there's sort of big fight scene that takes place in a sort of hall of mirrors, kind of like a throwback to Bruce Lee's movie Enter the Dragon back in the day, like the mirror sequence at the end of that. This reminded me a lot of that. Really well shot, really well lit, really well choreographed. There's one thing that happens a lot in Hollywood movies nowadays is people who make Hollywood action films are terrible at shooting action. You know, I don't know whether it's a lot of times it's because the the actors in these films who get these roles aren't proficient enough to pull these fight scenes off without juttering the camera around and doing quick, sharp things and zooming right in it so you can't see. But that's not the case in these films. Like, they're really well shot, they're really well framed, the scenes are very well put together, kind of like within the Raid. Even the Matrix movies, the Wachowskis back then, when they made them, used a choreographer who'd worked with Jet Li for years and years and years, named Yun Ping, I believe was his name. And as a result, the camera was kept back and the fight scenes were kept long, and there was a lot of moves before an edit, and that's moved on. On a side note with Keanu Reeves as well, if you do like your martial arts movies, and another film I was pleasantly surprised with was his directorial debut, which is called The Man of Tai Chi. Pretty good fight movie. I saw that not long after the Raid movies, and again was very skeptical of any martial arts films after them, and it was pretty cool. But back to John Wick 2, that's just more of the same, which I'm not teasing it for. I think it's great. It's gunfights, it's hand-to-hand combat. They really upped the ante on the hand-to-hand combat in this, I feel. You could tell there was a lot of training done in jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu obviously being a very worldwide popular martial art nowadays, thanks to the UFC, and even, lesser so, I guess, to the Joe Rogan podcast, who's just always on about, jiu-jitsu but the Gracie family, particularly going through UFC and a lot of other martial arts things around the world, like jiu-jitsu is huge. And this movie is heavily affected by it. A lot of the action revolves around jiu-jitsu moves, but it was interesting, and they've obviously mixing in striking and also gunplay with that style of fighting, and it came off really well. It worked really well. So many people got killed in this movie. It's ridiculous, like just huge long action sequences. There was one in the middle of the film that took place. I won't say why or what was happening, but it was John had to go into something, do something, and then fight his way out of there, and the fight out of there went for ages, and he fucked up so many people. And it was imaginatively done, it was thoughtfully choreographed, it was very well executed. He did a lot of training for this movie. There's a lot of behind-the-scenes videos of him doing, learning gunplay and weapon tactics and hand-to-hand combat and stuff. Like, Keanu is a machine. Like, this guy's in his early 50s and he's just beating the shit out of people in this. And I know they're acting, and I know it's choreographed, and I know it's not real fights, but he goes hard in this movie. Stunt work, fight work, falling down stairs, all kinds of crazy shit. Like, it's really, really well done. It's really intense. The pacing in the film was great. It definitely have those highs and lows, like giving you something really intense and then building it back up again for the next moment, and it does that consistently throughout it. Most of the rest of the cast weren't particularly memorable. There was some interesting sort of foes that he had, and once again the hotel that was that common ground where the people in his world couldn't engage in combat with each other was a thing, which is a cool touch. Like, I like the John Wick universe. I think there's some really interesting ideas there. An Australian girl named Ruby Rose, who was also in that shithouse XXX Vin Diesel movie that came out recently. She was in this as well. She was much, much better in this. She had a pretty good fight scene in it. It was good. I really enjoyed it. I really don't have that much more to say about it. It's an action film. It is a check your brain at the door thing, but in a world where Fast and Furious and XXX and all these huge blockbuster action films exist, it's lovely to see something like this, which holds its own and does everything better. Even if it'll never make as much money as a Fast and the Furious, it has immensely more integrity. So yeah, do yourself a favor and see it. If you've never seen the first John Wick, see that as well. A couple of days I'm off to see the new Pirates of the Caribbean, which I'm not expecting much for, but I'll be back to review that very soon. Next week is Wonder Woman. The week after that is The Mummy, which I'm sure is going to be a massive piece of shit, but I'll suffer for you and go and see it. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel with a little button up there if you're viewing this on a mobile device or a computer. Please share the channel with your friends or with anyone that you think might benefit from having or might enjoy the work. And and also actually, if you don't know and you just watch these for movie videos, I also play guitar, and there's quite a few guitar videos on my YouTube channel as well. So if you dig musical instruments and stuff and you want to see some guitar work, then please check out my guitar videos as well. I put a lot of effort into them, and I'm really proud of them. So I hope you check them out. But yeah, subscribe to the channel, check out my guitar videos, come back and see my reviews again real soon. As always, thanks for watching, guys. See you later.